Friends, welcome back. My name is Jason, and I've got a friend here named John. Quick introduction.
Yep, John Wheaton. I have a YouTube channel called Righteous Savages. Also, firearms instructor, like short or part-time interest in theology and all that fun stuff, life stuff. So yeah,
life stuff. Okay, so here's the question I have for you, John, and I want your honest feedback. I want to know what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, and let me know. I strongly believe that strength comes from spirituality. It comes from our mind. It comes from our body. And if one of those things is lacking, if one of those aspects of strength is lacking, if I'm weak spiritually, I will not ever reach my peak physical strength. If my physical strength is lacking, I will never reach my peak spiritual strength.
Yes.
If that makes sense. Now, if you agree with that, cool. If you don't, that's also cool. I want to know what your thoughts are on that because I feel like they're very strongly intertwined.
Yeah, I think that, body, soul, spirit, that kind of thing. When you talk about that, everything is connected. And so even though if you're a believer, you understand that there's a world outside of this, but everything's connected.
Right.
And I think that if you're talking about spiritual strength, physical strength, mental strength, if one is lacking, like say you're very strong mentally, you have a very high mental capacity, but you're 400 pounds,
right?
There's going to be a lacking. There's going to be a limit there. And so one of the things that I am a big proponent of is being well-rounded in everything. Whether it be firearms training, understanding how to hit a target at 1,000 yards, but also how to do a bill drill at 5 yards.
Sure.
Both are important, and that's the only way you become well-rounded. So you could apply that in every one of those aspects.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that the biggest thing for me is understanding to not let anything get out of balance. Making sure that, hey, maybe I need to reel in and stop going through the drive-through and getting fast food, and maybe start my morning out focusing on my spiritual walk, my that aspect of my life, and setting everything in place.
Interesting. Okay. So real quick, and I know for me, for example, like spiritual strength has always been kind of weakness of mine, or at least I view it as a weakness of mine. I've always been a physically fit kind of guy. I've always been active. I always exercise regular. That's just kind of my thing. Mental strength definitely lacking significantly, and I can always improve upon that. But we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and I think what you said was a balance of them is important. And if one of those is lacking, we need to build up the others.
Yep.
And maybe focus a little less on the one that we're good at and focus a little more on the one that we're weaker at. And so my question for you is, if you don't mind sharing, like what maybe some of your struggles and what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, some tactics.
Yeah. So and I would say that this all begins with introspective, like maybe auditing yourself, like taking an account of, let's look at ourselves honestly. Let's say, okay, yeah, I may think in my mind that I'm this like uber fit guy, or I'm this uber mental, giant, but I may not be.
Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe I just really suck at this, and I'm just blowing smoke up my own rear end. So,
well, how do you assess that? Do you compare yourself to others? What do you do?
No, I think that comparing to others can be a pitfall. It can be a dangerous thing because we're on the interwebs here. We're on YouTube, and there's a lot of fake on there.
Sure.
So if we're comparing ourselves, like just look into like the online fitness industry, how many things go into the lies that are told there about what fitness actually is? Yeah. Not even close. Yeah. Even in the firearms industry, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Oh, for sure.
So I think
money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Money and power.
Yeah. Yep. That's.
There's gunshots going on in the background, guys. We're having a range day. Deal with it. Sorry.
Yep. So that triggers you. I'm sorry. Get some more trigger time.
That's right.
But I think that really what it comes down to is being able to look at yourself honestly, and that's a hard thing to learn how to do because we don't a lot of times want to actually be honest with ourselves. Right. We don't want to actually say, yeah, I'm really not good at that. I'm 42 years old. I have learned how to be better at that. I'm still not great at it. I still, everybody has a little bit of narcissism, I think, built into their own brain. Human nature is a real thing to build yourself up to higher than...
You're the hero of your own story.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think really, like, it's not a comparison. It's really a comparison with yourself. what do I think I am, and what am I actually? And that's a thing that you sometimes, and this is probably the best way that I could say has worked for me, is getting alone. Maybe having a conversation with yourself, you know, writing something down, like, am I really good at this, or do I just think I'm good at it? And you start there with a baseline of
just alone time.
Yeah.
Reflection.
Yeah. I think, you know, we have a beautiful pond here, and we're awesome backdrop. Come out to a place like this where you can have some solitude, and it doesn't have to be a long time,
Right.
but just really think, you know, open up your mind to say, what am I really?
Right.
What do I think I am? And what am I really?
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that you get a baseline.
Yeah.
Then, like for me, one of the things that I struggle with is making sure that I'm balancing family time with my day job. I still have a day job, with content creation and pouring into my children. I've got a 12-year-old getting ready to be 13.
Yeah.
And so that's been a real big focus of mine, because I believe that men teach their sons how to be men.
Right.
And that's, you know,
Agreed.
fatherlessness is one of the worst things that has happened to society.
Yeah.
If you don't have dads in your life, you don't know how to become an adult. But so it's the looking into, you know, what can I do to better myself in the aspects that I'm lacking in. So for me, it's been a lot of time management, and so
Prioritizing.
Yes, prioritizing those things. So one of the just, it's kind of a gee whiz thing, but we put a calendar on our wall, a digital calendar that I can access from my phone. Everything that the family does goes into that. So now I know what margin I have to do the things that I have passion for, but they're not putting food on the table.
Right.
You know, not necessarily full on. So
Right.
we're moving into, you know, trying to make that a little bit more successful, but it's,
You're talking about like the social media stuff.
So trying to build that up, because I don't want to always have to punch a clock in an office.
Agreed.
You know, but there's a lot of freedom to that. But time management has been a big one, and I've had periods in my life where, you know, like the fitness side has been lacking.
Right.
So for that, it's really kind of kicking your own butt. I think with fitness, it's really just, for that aspect, it's really just kind of kicking your own butt, saying, okay, get out of bed.
Yeah.
Get
So this
moving.
is a good one. So everyone that's watching, like, I honestly, like, I want you guys to be freaking awesome. Like, that's what I desire everyone that watches my videos to. If you haven't caught on already, I might be showing you how to rub two sticks together. I might be building some fortress in the woods. I might be riding my bike 130 miles to challenge, push myself to limits. But if you haven't caught on, that's not what the videos are about. The videos are about inspiring others to live their lives to the fullest and not in fear. My videos are about encouraging people to be freaking awesome and to crush each and every single day. And I fail all the time. But it's those moments where I rise to the occasion and I push myself to the limits that inspire me, that motivate me. I recall those moments, and I want you guys to feel that same thing. What motivates you? What drives you to do the next thing? Because you don't feel like working out.
No.
You don't feel like doing the things, but you do them. Why?
Because I've come to a point to understand that is a massive benefit to my entire life. It makes me a better father. It makes me a better content creator. It makes me a better worker for my boss. It makes me even a better man of faith. Yeah. Because if you have that and I think it's really just like not being a slave to your feelings, but taking those things captive and saying, no, I don't care if I feel like crap.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go hit.
I feel terrible.
Yeah. There's some mornings.
I'm tired. I worked hard today.
Yep.
Shut up.
Yeah. Shut up, self. I'm going. Yeah.
That's right.
And that is a big thing. And I think really once you get that, what I talked about, that audit done, a lot of it is really just like knuckling down and saying, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna find a solution. Because we've got a lot of this your truth stuff going on in society. You know, your truth is your truth, as opposed to what is the truth. Well, the truth may be that you suck at this thing. Yeah. And if you want to get better, if you want to not be a failure.
You don't want to be terrible.
Yeah, you don't want to be terrible in that thing.
Be less terrible.
And all of you guys out there, you may be at different levels of this. You might be a guy that runs ultra marathons, and you're like, yeah, I've got this on lock. I can run 30 miles without stopping. You guys are crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're an ultra
No,
marathon.
no, definitely not.
But
yeah.
but yeah, that is the reality. Is like, you know, maybe that's a strength for you, and maybe you're really weak in the mental side, that you're just down on yourself all of the time, and you don't have any kind of mental strength to say, you know what, I'm okay.
Yeah,
I can
emotional
make it through
cojones.
Yeah. Yes,
That's what I like to call it.
yes.
Okay.
And, but I think you mentioned something earlier, and failure is actually the best barometer to me. I have learned more from my failures, from my losses, from the things that I've screwed up big time, than I ever have from just being really good at something naturally. Because then you take it for granted. Like, I'll use an example. I'm actually a fairly decent musician. I'm actually, spoiler alert, you hear my low voice. I actually am a fairly good singer. But I have found in singing in church and all this other stuff over years being in rock bands, that I don't lean into that ability as much as I should. Because I'm good at it, so I don't think I need to be better at it.
Got it.
And so there may be things, maybe when you do your assessment, you look and you say, well, I'm pretty good at all this stuff. So lean into it. Make yourself better. Get that, you know, if you want to run a 5K, you know, or you can already run 5K and you're like, I want to be a better runner, run a half marathon.
Oh yeah.
Run a 6K.
Yeah.
If you're a really good pistol shooter in the tactical world, if you're a really good pistol shooter, but you want to get better at rifle, go to the range and just practice rifle for a month.
Right.
You'll get better. So I think it's that constant understanding where you're at and understanding what your goals are. And that's something I failed to mention in your audit. Also write down your goals. Where do I want to be? Where do I want to be in 3 months? Where do I want to be in 6 months?
Yeah, you think goal planning is a super crucial part? Because that's also something that I suck at, is like longer term goal setting.
Yeah, but that's also a trap. Everything can kind of be, I think probably what you could say is everything has to be in balance. So you can spend all your time goal setting and not actually achieve any goals.
Okay.
The big thing is do.
Sure.
Like plan and do.
Yeah. Plan
and do. We have this thing in the engineering field. It's called PDCA. Plan, do, check, act. So you plan, you make a plan for what you look at your goals and you say, okay, let me plan what I'm going to do.
Right.
You do it. Then you check your progress and you say, okay, did that have the actual results that I was looking for? Did that actually have the desired effect? Yes. Okay. What's your next action?
Right.
No. Okay. How do we fix it? What's your next action? And you run that circle.
Got it.
You know, what's my next action? I'm going to plan it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to assess my results, and then I'm going to act on it.
Got it. Something that's worked well for me, similar to what you're talking about, as far as fitness goes, because that's kind of my thing, is I set short-term goals for myself. So, for example, generally speaking, I'll test myself, and then 8 weeks later, I'll test myself again. The same thing. And then I meet that short-term goal, hopefully. If not, I reassess and I try it again. But once I meet that short-term goal, I move on to another one. But all of those short-term goals are accumulating and all leading towards overall physical development. And that works pretty well for me because I can see the finish line. If you say, 6 years from now, you got to do this thing, I'm like, it's hard for me to focus on that for that length of time. But 8 weeks, like I can focus pretty hard on something for 8 weeks and really get better at it. Like most recently was a 2-mile run. I tested 2 miles, 8 weeks later, I ran 2 miles again. And I crushed it because I worked hard that entire 8 weeks to improve upon that. But that goal has helped improve my overall fitness.
And I think that's a great point, is short-term goal setting. We may want to become an ultra-marathon runner.
Right.
And you're starting at 2 miles.
Yeah.
Have those short-term goals, because let's face it, this world is a constant, like, atomic level distraction world. Like a distraction. Everything's a distraction.
Everything, yeah.
Everything is trying to pull your attention. Every company is trying to get your eyeballs on their advertisement. or they're, you know, whatever they're trying to sell you and make you think. Every algorithm is trying to pull you into something because you searched it on Google. I mean, we've all experienced that, right? So short-term goal setting, I think, is probably one of the more important things of this. If we're talking through it, is self-assessment, short-term goal setting, have a long-term plan, but focus on the short term. Because if you focus on just the long term of, you know,
it's easy to lose sight of it.
Right. If you want to become a concert guitarist, you know, and you're starting out playing Mary Had a Little Lamb, you know, that's going to be a long period of time. That's a lifetime journey. So, like, set goals for what do I want to be in 2 weeks, what do I want to be in 2 months. You know?
Yeah. Okay, cool. Any other tips, tricks, tactics that have worked for you?
So I think really the honesty with yourself is the biggest thing. Like that introspection is lacking sorely in society today. It's a broken. We have a broken world that's just everybody's, you know, building each other up in falsehoods and lies.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the biggest thing, is learning how to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And then, you know, as far as tips, go out there and do something. Like, yeah, spend some time planning what you want to do so you have a goal, so you have a roadmap, but go do it.
Yeah.
You know, doing is the way that I think most people really learn something, because you can read about something in a book. You could read about shooting 1,000 yards in a book and think you got it all down.
It's not.
Until you get out there in 10-mile-an-hour winds, you know, in the rain and the snow or whatever, and you actually pull that trigger and see what the bullet does. You're never going to have that.
You can look at the textbook and learn how to tie the knot in theory. But until you actually touch the string and put it together into a knot, it's not the same thing.
In the engineering world, and full disclosure, I'm an engineer by trade in my civilian job, not outside of the YouTube persona, I guess you could say. But we see engineers coming straight out of college, and they have all the book knowledge, but you put them on something that they've not dealt with, something some customized machinery,
they're lost.
And they're lost. They're you know, so. And it takes them a couple
you get
years.
real life experience.
Yeah, it takes them a couple years. Really, we almost say every new engineer coming out of college directly is going to be a 2-year growth period before they're actually really a useful person in that world.
I would say that applies to pretty much every field out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You're good.
So you dedicate yourself to what you want to improve, and then you plan it and you do it.
Yeah. So something that helps me a lot, I know that it helps me a lot, but I'm not good at it, is getting alone time, like getting quiet time.
You have children.
Yeah. Well, the problem is I feel selfish.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I feel guilty for going off and doing something by myself, even though I know it's good for me, and I know that I feel good, and I feel re-energized, and I've had that time to reflect upon what's important. Like, I know that it's good for me, but I still feel like I'm robbing time away from my family when I'm doing that. So it's, again, like that balance. That's just one of my personal struggles. Like when I go off by myself and I do something hard, like whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, climb a mountain or something like that by myself, I come back and I'm like, like I feel good, and I feel like I could be a better parent, I could be a better husband, I can be a better everything, better friend. And I need to do that stuff often, regularly. I just don't, because of that of that selfish of feeling selfish, if that makes sense.
So, you know, on our channel, we're kind of unapologetic about our faith, and so I always kind of try and tie stuff back to my faith. And so, like in the Bible, Jesus got alone before he actually went into ministry.
I know.
Like, he took 40 days, and it was the hardest thing that he did. As in his humanity, it was the hardest thing he did. He faced temptation out the wazoo. He did all of these things. When he came out of that, he was prepared to face everything that he would over the coming 3 years of his life. And I think that you pointed out something, and there's a great book, Wild at Heart. It's by an author named John Eldredge, and he talks about this self-assessment and getting alone. You have to get alone, because then you're not hearing all of this input. The chatter, because you are focused on what's in the moment. And you just said something that was really profound, in that you feel like
it doesn't happen often. So listen.
Well, it is. It is, because when you think about it, you literally just said, when I go do something hard and I come back, I feel like I'm a better father. I feel like I feel like I'm more connected. I'm more zeroed in on what I need to do, zeroed in on the tasks. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Because you go do something hard, you realize that you can accomplish this really hard thing. And it doesn't have to be super hard, but it's something you haven't accomplished before. And then you're like, hey, I dedicated myself to this. I actually made myself do something and be successful at it. I can come home and I can be successful in that.
Crush it.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Go do something.
Do the things.
Yep.
Do hard things.
And the stuff.
Of course, the stuff. Don't neglect the stuff. We talked about balance. All right, friends, listen, I really do appreciate you watching as usual. The thumbs it up, the clicking of the things, the subscriptions, always welcome, and share the video if you think somebody might benefit from it. I want you guys to be awesome. I really do. Anyone and everyone watching, I want you to crush the day. That's what I want. That's what I desire. I jokingly say this a lot. I feed off the misery. I delight in the misery of my friends, because out of the suffering, out of the misery, doing something really hard and challenging, you come out of it stronger. And that really gets me going. So please, in the comment section, share the things that you've done, the challenges that you've had to overcome, whether, by design, intentionally or not intentionally. Share that stuff in the comment section, and I'd be really, really grateful for it. Anything else you want to add? Where can they find you?
YouTube, Righteous Savages. If you just type that in, you'll find our stuff. We have a podcast. We do a lot of firearms content, a lot of training. We're doing some survival content with Survival Dispatch, and then just check us out, and then you can go to our website, righteoussavages.com. We do training for police, military, civilians. We're in the Midwest in Southern Illinois, the People's Republic of Illinois, but we do a lot of that stuff. So look for us there, and check out our content. Hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, I'll put links and stuff, description, so all you gotta do is click a button and you'll get there. So
yeah, make it easy. Yeah, make it easy.
All right, friends, until next time, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just go on 3.
If you carry a firearm and discharge your weapon in self-defense, you could face hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and expenses. So carry the protection of CCW Safe, Self-Defense Legal Services membership. Upfront payment of all criminal and civil defense costs with no out-of-pocket for members. Unlimited defense budgets, unmatched legal expertise. Carry the same level of support police officers have. Carry CCW Safe, the highest caliber.